Brownfield was back in the area today doing additional testing based on the conversations of our last meeting, and they will continue to do evaluations of the entire event. They'll return in a couple of months to do further testing to compare with these samples. IEPA and IGPH were asked whether or not further testing was necessary, and they said not at this time. I don't know if that means they're going to do some of their own in the future, but ask them a lot if they think there's testing that needs to be done further than told us. Mirror Grove did ask Carus to consider offering independent soil testing. They declined, stating that current studies have not shown a need in their eyes to continue testing. Grove also asked them to consider moving all chemicals out of the Apollo warehouse, and they stated they were in the process of doing so, but committed to doing so within the next 2 weeks. The Conservation Police had the dead deer examined by a wildlife biologist, who concluded, along with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources biologist and the lab director at the University of Illinois' Wildlife Veterinary Hospital, that the cause of death was acute physical trauma. They stated that if any other animals turn up deceased in the area, to contact Conservation Police to collect the carcass as soon as they can. And I'm told a recent IEPA study showed there was one sample taken containing high levels of metals. We did ask the IEPA about this. They said the study specifically was taken at the site of the Carus chemical plant itself, and it was not their understanding to, they will have a full report to be shared in the future. So that's all that I have as far as an update from the last meeting.
Brownfield, you say Brownfield's doing additional testing and evaluation?
Yes.
Thank you.
So if there's something I've forgotten, let me know. That's where we're at.
Kind of just to kind of continue on what we talked about last week, I kind of mentioned that, I think our role is obviously to be the facilitator, try to keep the lines of communication open with our residents, give them an option to hopefully have that communication with Carus and work through some of those issues. We did some of the additional testing, and I'm glad we did. And I know we said we'd come back in 3 months to do some more testing after spring. I guess I want to just encourage, for the record, Carus to potentially have some open meetings for the folks to have that dialogue, because again, it's a situation where we're just communicating back and forth. I think it's best if we just have Carus moving forward have their own news press release. I think that'd be fair for everybody involved. I don't want there to be perception that we're trying to represent Carus in any way, and we're not. We're trying to represent you folks, we're trying to represent the communication process with IEPA, US EPA, and our independent, auditor that we hired on. And I think we've come to the point where we've exhausted those means on our behalf. And again, we will encourage Carus to I think the ball should be in their court to hold these meetings in a more formal manner in an answer. Whether they will or not, I don't know. Will the EPA come to their meetings? That's up to them. But I think at this point in time, gentlemen, if you agree or not, I think we're to the point where we've done as much to do. We will continue to try to work on communication. There's situations where, hey, trying to get through to somebody, Brent will obviously try to, or a member of the city will try to give you that information of who to get a hold of, and obviously to continue that process.
And to add to, I think Fire Chief Yannick looked into the chemicals on the Tier 2 form. He did not find that they needed placards from his research. But,
so the trucks that were transferred from the plant to the Apollo warehouse did not need to have placards?
That's our chief's understanding from the chemicals he's reviewed himself. We've not directly discussed that with Carus, but I'm sure.
I know that was one of the questions brought up.
There he is.
Did anybody from the public want to talk?
Did you hear that, Eric?
I think Brent gave out some.
Yeah, I have one out there.
Bunch of bullshit. Is it time to speak now?
Yep.
Jamie Hicks.
Really quick. Anyone else? While I have the thing there.
Jamie Hicks for the record. I appreciate y'all listening to me tonight. I appreciate what you guys are starting to do finally. You should have did it before you. You can stand up here and tell me you don't have Carus's back, and I have proof you have Carus's back. I have full IH's stuff. You've been lied to by 4 different times. I told you they had 4 semi-loads of that stuff in there. They took out 7 and they still got more. There's lies being told all the way around. I also had the filters tested. You know I'm working with Sierra Club. And I'm gonna read you what they told me, a quote from them, if you don't mind. They said the results clearly show that there was more in that fire than just magnesium, magnesium and potassium. In the fallout from the fire, the only metal not found in every sample was mercury, but one sample had mercury in it. I want to read something else. And most of you guys already heard it, probably because you watched my Facebook Live, and I appreciate it. Okay. What bothers the Sierra Club the most about the EPA ambient air ratings is the results on the 11th and early on the 12th are given. They're given in different measurements, like milligrams /M3, and then on the 12th they're in UgM3. The ambient air quality standards are expressed in UgM3. Using the MG, this is a lot of information, but bear with me. Using the MG/M3 is a deceptive because people don't always understand that they have to multiply that by 1,000 to know what the readings are in ppb for a more direct comparison. If you look at the attached readings on the 11th and the 12th, the highest result was 87 ppb at B2 location at 3:48 a.m. on the 12th. And then 24-hour standard for the PM, the particulate matter 2.5 is 35 UgM3. And this, they say this is a tactic often used by companies representing industries, but something that the EPA shouldn't do. They're basically saying this is a tactic that companies use that represent the industry, and the EPA shouldn't do. I'm going to tell you another thing. I talked to the man with the Illinois Health Department. I talked to the Sierra Club. The test the EPA took was the wrong test. Them wipe samples are made for smooth surfaces, not concrete. They are not made for concrete, so them tests are useless to us. I had it all over my truck. They were looking all over my place. They didn't wipe the truck. I got the granulars from the truck. I'm testing the water for heavy metals since you guys did. I'm also going to test my own soil, and I'll pay the money to have it tested since you guys won't come back. I've asked him for that. These are the lies that we're being told. Now, I don't know about you, but when they tell you got barium, copper, lead, magnesium, and mercury in your air filter, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Are your men getting physicals and getting checked out from a fire? I bet they are. I bet the whole damn town should be. Anybody that was around. You guys never treated me like a chemical exposure, and I was exposed to it. You never treated the town like a chemical exposure. The lies are here in the paper, and there's more than one gentleman in this room. I'm sorry, Mr. Grove. You're one name on this paper. You're well aware what was going on. You've been trying to bury this Tier 2 building since I've been bringing it up since 2017. And I'm going to get to the bottom of why you're doing this to me. Because you've upset me so much. Maybe I come in here the wrong way. Maybe I have the wrong attitude. But I am a person. I'm a human being. Stop and listen to what people are telling you. You know, I begged on these trucks. I sent you numerous pictures. And they've been hauling that poison down my damn road this whole time. Under your watch. This is a disgrace. I'm sorry. Every person up here, if you haven't read the lies, if you haven't been exposed this BS, and if you're not, I don't know what to think anymore. Because I'm telling you what, any decision made on the behalf of these citizens are made by these gentlemen up here, not by private conversations between you and Carus Chemical and the three eyes that's got to keep on track of the paper so it doesn't get confused. This is shameful. And you're going to sit up here and make me look like a fool. All these times I come in here and I get this. And I'm getting more. I'm getting to the bottom of that building because I'm told the city is the one who approves it. I'm told the city is the one who signs off on it. I'm told the city is the one who inspects it. That building is not up to code. And I'll tell you what,
I'm not, you take the chemicals out of there. I want that building shut down, period. That should not be behind our homes. No name, no place cards, nothing but an abandoned building, and you guys are getting cheated out of taxes. How many billions of dollars, think about it, people, how many billions of dollars drove down my road? In only the years they could log, because 2017 was when the law kicked in for the Tier 2 chemical storage facilities. And they started out with 3 chemicals. Well, how many they got now? Quite a few. It's a lot of pages. You know what it is. You've seen it all. Now you've seen it because I had to bring it to light to you.
There's 8.
Yeah.
8 products.
Yeah. There was what in the beginning? 3. There's 3 in the beginning.
There's 8.
Yeah, you know this now, but when we asked you before, you knew nothing. So don't try to backtrack. This is what we're talking about. Trust issues. Carus called. Carus called no evacuation. That's why it took an hour and 20 minutes. It's all in here. So you can sit here and tell me some BS. I'm not buying it because I can read it. You know, you think it's easy what I'm doing, sticking my damn neck out here on the line for my damn community members? Do you really think that's easy? And being in the limelight for this bullshit. I never asked to do this. I asked you to do it. I asked you to do it, and I asked you to do it, do it.
So
I asked you all.
You never called me and sent me an email?
Sir,
You never asked me nothing?
I've emailed you before and I've called you before, and you're the wrong man. I don't want to hear it.
On this
This
issue
is
here-
my man
on
right
this issue here, you have not
This
emailed me.
this man right here is the man I talked to.
No.
Ask
why
Jordan
would we
Craig.
call you?
I do have, Mr. Harris, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
On that, from that Sierra Club, on that metal and that filter, is that just from one home or is that from various homes?
It's from various homes, sir.
Can we have the address of them homes, please?
Oh, you want public information now? Well, why don't you try FOIA and that shit, because they don't give it to me. How about that?
Just to bring it back to the study.
I will give this paperwork
Hey,
to the
listen.
appropriate people. And you guys right now are not the appropriate people. I'm sorry. I don't trust you. I've never trusted you, boo. You've been bad for my area. Your slumlord
Okay,
projects
Stop.
you got going on.
we're getting off track.
Well, he don't need to be attacked.
No, it just, he's asking you.
Jordan Crane knows exactly all my concerns. Jordan Crane has been with me since day one. So I got 2 aldermen. If I don't like one, I can go to the other. That's a fact. Just like you don't like me, you can go to the other and just ignore me. This can't be ignored. This can't be ignored.
To go back to the study you have there, your contact with the state health department, is that Aaron?
With the Illinois,
Illinois Department of Public Health, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah,
Is
Aaron.
it Aaron?
Yes.
Can you send the study to him?
me and Aaron have already spoken. Yes, Aaron's
I thought
gonna.
the study might have been new.
Aaron is going to get my paperwork. You as a city, you will not get my paperwork.
Well, we've talked.
And it's not appropriate for me to be giving addresses out to people's homes.
Not asking.
That you know as well as I do.
Just want to make sure that.
I ain't going to get in trouble for doing nothing like that. I would never do that to somebody. They want to tell you their address and their test, they're more than welcome to call you up and tell you. You didn't want to know about it when we came in here and showed it to you. The guy looked over here, and he couldn't get an answer from anybody because Carus wasn't here to answer it for him. So he's like, oh yeah, I can take a piece of that. He never did.
No, I want to know if I could ask Jamie a question.
Go ahead.
Okay, Jamie, could you go through the list of the chemicals, because I know you said everything and then but mercury, but can you go through
Yes,
a list of
yes,
the
I can.
chemicals that were found, tested in those various,
Yes, there's barium, there's copper, there's lead, there's magnesium, and there's zinc. And the mercury in one sample.
Okay, and then I have another question. I know that you had mentioned that the swab tests were inappropriate for the concrete, but was there something about the ground test that was 6 inches when the standard should have been 3 inches?
Correct.
I didn't hear anything about that.
By the time what the Sierra Club is telling me, and these people have a lot of years of experience, they're telling me that
Could they come? Could somebody from the Sierra Club come? I'd love to hear from you.
I can get somebody here, it'd be great. Yeah, you gonna listen to them or are you gonna ignore them like you do
I'm
me?
asking if they could come.
I'm sure I could get somebody here. I got a lot of people standing behind me because they don't believe it. And this is going on in Ohio too. Same thing. EPA feeding us bullshit. City riding along with it. I already know you've been spoon-fed. Every interview, everything that's been released to the paper has all been through Carus chemical in your eyes. I've read it, and I'll get more. So the time to start coming on and telling the truth is right now, in my opinion. How do we move forward from here? How do we trust Carus? How do we trust you? How do we trust you, gentlemen? I mean, you guys are the ones who are supposed to be standing up for us, regardless if I call you or not. I'm sure other people have.
Jamie, what about the air tests? Was there something about where they were taken?
Yes.
They weren't taken?
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate that, Pat, because some people like to throw you off a little bit. The air test, there was no monitor to monitor our stuff. The direction of the wind. We had no air monitoring in the direction of a chemical plant. So when you guys are telling us we're all good and you're reading the air quality samples and everything, we're not even getting the readings we need. That's a chemical plant. We need a tower up there. We need something to monitor our safety. We don't know if they've been pluming us for all these years. We don't know if these metals that you're going to find in our dirt, or I'm going to find out, haven't been hitting us for a long time. We don't know that. How do we move forward, Mayor Grove? How do we move forward, my councilman? I don't want to sit here and come in here bashing people and throwing people under the rug. I want to move forward. We want Carus Chemical to be responsible for what they did and not ask them. You freaking tell them. The bullshit is done. It's the exposure's out. Tell them. This is what you need to do. We are fighting our insurance companies. And I haven't even got into our pets or our people with asthma and all the people that somebody claims the health department's not telling you guys that go to the ER and they're handing out inhalers like they're friggin' candy. I wonder why my heart's beating the way it is. I wonder why my appetite isn't there. It's all because of this poison that's been dropped on us. And nobody's listening. Because they're trusting people who we should be trusting as well. EPA, Health Department. But you know what? I don't trust any of them. I have no right to trust them. I've been lied to.
And that's your opinion.
I've been
That's
lied to.
what's great about America. We can all have
Yeah, I've heard that in one of your little other cases too before. That's a great line.
No, it is true. And you're not going to convince me. We're going to go off the information we have. We talked about this before. We're not scientists. We're not
No, you're
specialists.
trying to take your liability on it. But let's bring something up. Do you have an open account that you're getting all your stuff paid for? Because I know you do. Do we have for the firemen, for the equipment, for every man that was at that scene?
We're going to go after Carus.
No, you have an account. I have the information. Write it all out on this account. You guys are guaranteed your stuff. We're not guaranteed shit. I'm sorry, but we're not. And I'm going to stop talking because it's just going to upset me more.
I just have one question. In one of the houses that had the air filter, was any work done in the chimney after the thing?
That should be the exhaust anyway.
I mean, are you serious? Did you see my daughter's filter? Did you see my daughter's
No,
filter last week?
I was
last time we
contacted
were
by
here.
an outside source that said, hey, I'm looking at potential video of some work done in one of the homes afterwards that some stuff was cleaned around the chimney. And I'm just asking if you know anything about that.
That was my
No.
house. It was my
No, I
house,
don't.
and I just got a new furnace and air conditioner.
Okay.
4 years ago.
That answers it. So they were out there this time just to double check it.
Who? No. They won't come to my house because
No, I'm talking within the last 3 weeks, somebody was up there at somebody's roof, and we're looking for a video of it. If one neighbor says they have a video of it, I just want to see what that was about.
Go ahead, pull the video. I mean, shit. You can't pull video of my video when I'm telling you people are coming out inspecting buildings and they're not. You ain't looking at my video when the semi trucks are rolling down the road. You think I'm a freaking fool or an idiot? No. You know, any damn
And
thing.
we know we have ever said that about you.
Well, you know what? Well, you make me feel like that. Because you want to ignore
Sorry to
me,
make you feel that way.
and you want to lie to
That's
us.
enough, or
You wanna
or-
keep- We had,
please. Can I speak? That's four.
I hope
We had
you do
14
speak.
FOIAs come in, we'll be glad to give any FOIAs. FOIAs are information, information. And you'll see in some of those, if anybody wants to read them, we got information from Carus. And
Fires.
when we found out that it was wrong, we went back and then some of the correspondence back and forth saying, well, either you have it in or you don't have it in.
When you all read it,
So
you'll see.
you'll see the corner that we're gonna go off again what they tell us, and you have correspondence from us going back to them saying, are you sure this is in there? And they're like, well,
No,
no,
I
it's there.
appreciate
So-
John Duncan for doing that. You didn't do that. When you were told, they were told to lie. He was told to lie. It's in the damn thing. How did the meeting go with Jamie Hicks? Subject, Jamie Hicks. How'd the meeting go? Here's what you need to tell Jamie Hicks. Here's what you need to do. Don't sit here and tell me this.
Jamie, when I did, if you remember,
I mean,
when I went to
most
your house,
people,
You came to my house and you
I'll
said they had
Hey.
potassium permanganate.
I did.
And now you're gonna sit here and tell me
But
something
at that
different.
time, when we were talking, I said to you that I didn't understand how this could have happened. I explained to you exactly how it occurred.
Exactly.
And I was transparent in every conversation
You
I
did.
have.
You
Every
did.
conversation I have.
But
with
you didn't
individual
tell me
individuals.
that it went this deep that they lied to you 4 times about what the hell was going on in the building. It went from parts to chemicals to a tier 2 chemical storage facility in a residential home behind my house. And I'm not supposed to be upset.
Jamie?
I understand the frustrations, but I wanted to reiterate that everything you saw in that email, I did express to you and say, this is what
You
they
guys
have
need to
told
fix
us.
that damn thing too.
Jamie, I have another question. Did you ever get an answer from anybody in the city regarding, certifications or, I don't know, licensing of a tier 2 storage facility, or when meetings were held on that?
I'm still waiting for, I'm told by the end of the week I'm supposed to have them FOIA by Brent. I did get stuff from LaSalle County, IEMA today. I haven't really got to go over it, but I know who's signing off. I know who's supposed to know what's going on. And our fire chief had no idea what was in that building, and we're listed as a contact on this piece of paper numerous years.
So you're not faulting the city because they trusted Carus, right? I mean, they did what any city would do, they trusted.
To an extent, they trusted them, and then
Yeah.
it's like a white lie. You tell me a white lie, okay, we can move past that. But when you tell me a white lie that it's machine parts to chemicals, oh, now we're, Jamie Hicks dug too much up, we gotta expose it to tier 2 chemical storage facility. And if you look at what Ottawa had to do to prove theirs, it goes through the city. So when it comes back, Mayor Grove, that you've been allowing these guys to do this all this time, I'm sorry, you'll never get a vote from me. And that's my opinion.
Mr. Hicks, can I ask you something,
You
please?
sure can.
How many years did you know about the Apollo,
The Apollo?
that warehouse?
Everybody knows it's called the Carus Warehouse
Well, all right.
by name.
Oh, who cares?
I've known it was there since I moved in there. When I moved in 25 years ago, for the first 2 years I lived there, there was no truck traffic. When the truck traffic started to pick up, I came in here in 2017. It's recorded. I can pull up the newspaper article on it. And I complained about the semis sitting in front of my house like it was a truck stop. And I got numerous emails between Carus asking, what are you hauling? What are you doing? What's going on? I got numerous emails with Brian Brown. You've received numerous emails from me, Bob. And you know how upset it is when I email you, because nobody's doing them. They're not sitting in front of your house. They're not driving through your yard. I live there. Oh, we just got a new road project, as you know, like last year or the year before. My drain hasn't worked since I moved in. They smashed it. And every time I ask, somebody comes out and says, Carus is going to take care of it. Carus is going to pay for it. Carus is never held accountable for anything.
You weren't happy living there. I mean, you've been having problems for a long time.
Oh, so what are you going to say?
Well, all right, you allowed your son and your daughter. One lives across the street and one lives down the block.
Yeah.
How come you didn't tell them to go live somewhere else.
You know what? Because my kids love me and they want to be by me.
Okay.
Yeah.
But, they're gonna put up with that warehouse and the traffic.
Oh, it's
and
okay
everything
that they
just
put
doesn't
a tier 2 chemical storage facility in my
I
backyard.
appreciate all you people, and I feel sorry. I
No,
wouldn't
you
want
don't.
that in my yard, and I agree with you on that. But you're coming up here and you're blowing smoke.
I'm
Well,
blowing
you-
smoke.
You allowed your daughter and your son to move.
You know what?
In the same neighborhood that you don't like.
You know what?
Come on.
The news already knows about you and your mouth, so I don't have to say no.
This is not how it goes.
I'm not. Thanks for your opinion. I appreciate it,
And
buddy.
I appreciate
I'll be
it.
helping voting you out too,
Okay.
partner.
It's a good neighborhood, a careful and rude.
Yeah, all
The
we
city wouldn't allow Carus to
Does somebody have number
Thank
two?
you
I'm
very
not saying
much.
nothing about the neighborhood, I'm saying he's against it so bad, but he allowed his son and his daughter to. If I hated it so
Jim.
bad, I wouldn't let him live church.
Control the damn room.
How does that solve the
Sit
problem?
down.
Because he doesn't like the neighborhood. The problem is the stuff is still coming in and out. That's the problem. It needs to be addressing the problem, not trying to put an answer off because he had his kids move there. That's irrelevant.
Derek, we were told that we have 2 weeks, they're gonna have it out. So, I don't know if you were here for that, they read it, they got my response, we just got today from Carus, that they're gonna have it all.
You're gonna have manifests for this and everything that's proper.
You're gonna go check it
It's
and
gonna
see
be
what they
empty.
got?
It's gonna be empty, so we're not gonna have to worry about manifests.
Is it gonna be closed down?
Doug, how are you?
Closed down, not
So,
empty.
I know we are in agreement that I would give you 2
They're not
weeks
shutting it down.
to find out what they were trucking out of there specifically and what was in Apollo warehouse. I've not bugged you once, so I would like to address that now and see if you were able to get a manifest of the trucks that were taking things out of the
Jerry,
Apollo.
do you have the information of what was the MSDS's?
I have, yes. From the tier 2 reporting from 2021, there were 8 products on there.
There were 8 products in those
8
trucks
products.
in the Apollo warehouse. Okay.
22.
Claiming.
Printed
Comes
off
out in
MSD sheets from every product,
Okay.
and they're generic. They're not specific to Carus or anybody. I want to be fair on that.
Okay.
And they all list under transport information, they are not dangerous goods.
So they're not
I
regulated.
thought potassium permanganate
Yeah.
was in that Apollo
If it's
warehouse.
regulated, it's a dangerous good.
You got a number?
There's no chemicals.
I'm very
Read
confused.
the
If
cautions on them
it's
damn
been a
things.
tier 2 facility,
Yes, it is.
would there be
This is on-
dangerous
this is on the
chemicals
website.
in that?
They're chemicals, yes.
But
Wait,
Bader came
wait, so
back and
you
said
got your
they're
information off their website?
Illinois Emergency Management Agency.
Okay, but you didn't get the manifest of like the trucks that were
No, I have
leaving?
no authority to do that.
I don't think we were able to get clarification the last time that we talked. If there is a similar situation as there was with Carus fire, obviously we have seen in a very short amount of time, Ohio, Louisiana, Arizona, somewhat similar situations. What have we learned from what happened last month with the fire that we can improve communication, improve whether civilians need to be leaving the area or staying in? I'm trying to.
I think the biggest takeaway that we were able to implement right away is so that, let's say, somebody from out of town is in our area, that they will get a call now on their cell phone. It will ping whatever cell phone is in our area, so that's good. So if I have somebody visiting from Chicago, they're not gonna drive to where the fire is, they're gonna get the warning that everybody here will get. It will just be strictly to the code red residents that are listed on that.
What's the radius of that?
Well, we can actually determine that.
Okay.
That's to the county.
Brent
Okay.
brought that up at the last council.
And then do you know if it's been fixed? Because I know last time there was.
We haven't, I don't wanna say it's been fixed because I want to do multiple calls. This
Okay.
is gonna be something we're gonna be working on for, the next few calls. If we determine that it seems like, have we done an all-call since?
We have, but not one where we pinged all the cell phones, right?
So
we just do the ones that are pertaining to the residents that sign up for it in town. People coming out from there don't need to know about, different things going on in town. But emergencies, they would need to know. So that's how we correct that.
So what do we do as a community the next time this happens?
What would you like to see done?
I feel like having people leave the immediate area of where they could be breathing the stuff in. I'm 4 blocks away from it. My asthma I used to use my inhaler maybe once or twice a week. I am using it 2 to 3 times a day now. And I've actually lost weight. I have worked on my health, so there's no reason my asthma should be worse. I know that there are other people who are having health issues that seem to coincide similar issues, along with healthy young pets that have not had health issues in the past are now having sores on their stomachs since the snow has melted. Several people I know, their animals are having seizures that have been outside, whether it be dog or cat. And it's hard not to have that in the back of your mind when your kids want to go outside, when you want to go outside, when you want to walk at any of the parks,
Well, I know some people mentioned that they even talk to their own physician, and their physician doesn't have a recommendation, right?
Correct.
So I don't know. Obviously, we don't have that.
Yeah, we can't really help with specific regards to that. However, I would reach out to the Illinois Department of Public Health. I have an email address. You can reach out to them. They'll be able to get more information in a medical capacity that we were running to.
Okay. So if this happens again, Carus, another fire or something like that, we're just gonna do the same thing? Is that what the plan is, basically?
Not get people out.
It's gonna depend on the situation.
We should have been taken out.
How many plans do you have?
Shelter in place is a tool that's used to limit public exposure.
We should have got us out.
If we want to evacuate,
Right.
we can potentially put you into the harmful environment.
How so? I'm genuinely
By
asking.
going through if there's any issues breathing, if you have.
You're already in it.
If you have any.
As soon as you lift the shelter in place, you walk outside, and there it is.
If you have any kind of product in the air or on the soil or whatever, if you are in your house, to bring you out of that could be exposing.
If you're gonna tell people to shelter in place, shouldn't you tell them the proper way to shelter in place?
Get them to shut off their furnace.
Shut off their furnace, put wet towels along the windowsills.
I understand Ohio had different chemicals, it was a different situation, but they literally showed officers in their squad cars, announcing over their speakers that people needed to leave the area for their safety and everything. I know last time you said it was a lot of work to try to move a lot of people.
Do you know why they did that in Ohio? There is a potential of explosion.
Wasn't there explosions at Carus? I'm not being smart ass.
Taking it out
I'm
of
genuine.
context, but that was the mile evacuation for Ohio. It was a pressurized rail.
And I do understand there were some similar situations, and
We
there's.
did not have a pressurized vessel of any type involved in Carus.
Do we know yet what actually happened at Carus? Because my understanding is that still, like, how do we learn from, or how do they learn from this fire?
Great question for Carus.
Yeah, they're not here again, which
Good
kind of says a
question
lot
for
about
Carus.
what they're thinking.
It's really a great question for the state fire marshal. So I don't think that Jerry's involved in the investigation, but
They still have no.
I know, it's all.
They're still
they're taking all
investigating.
kinds
I thought they were
of
the
things. Why
state fire
bother,
marshal
you know?
today. They're
Yeah,
even
it's just falling on deaf ears. Love you.
Will the city be told if there ever comes to be a resolve of what caused this explosion, fire, whatever?
Yes.
I'm determined.
Number 3. Good evening.
All right, my name's Eric Dias. by looking at whatever's on this sheet, the first thing he handed me, if it's in there, is a corrosive, which is placable, 1,001 pounds or more. So regardless, if this got hauled out illegally, it is what it is now. You can't do much about it. Unless they go back and collect manifests that are supposed to be kept. What do we do going forward with this? When I drive, I have to have placards on my stuff. Why don't they? If they hauled it up.
Well, ones we had, unless it was under the 1,000 pounds, they did not have to have it.
I got videos of what they took out of the truck, and one pallet was worth more.
But again, Eric, you know, and you might not have heard me, they gave us 2-week commitment that they're not gonna have anything up there, so.
Right, but it still has to be hauled away properly.
They're not gonna use it right now.
I
What about
understand
the
they
future?
had the 2 weeks, I get it. But they
Well, I
lied
also
all
work
along.
for
You
many
know, that's the protection of
warehouse people, and there's a lot of times, it takes an awful lot to have to put placards on.
Because first thing my wife mentioned last time we were here, right? My son, want to take a guess where he is right now? He's in hospital. Lung issues. I told myself I wouldn't break down. They're testing his blood for stuff. And it better not come back with this stuff from them. Because everything's good. My yard needs to be tested. I have a child with big needs. He fought his life to be alive. And now he's fighting again. Why I'm here? Because I'm probably out of my mind. I should be up there. I spent all last night, all Monday with him up there, and I'm going back as soon as I leave here.
He's a good kid, Eric, I know.
But please, have the courtesy of the people in mind. Get Carus to answer these questions. They need to hold something. If they had that chemical release like it's being put out as, they are responsible for all cleanup. Don't make them have you pay stuff, because that's wrong. You guys are too good of a city. We are too good of a city to allow them to walk on us. They have to follow the rules. Just like anybody else.
Sure.
This is not fair. I'm going to sit down because I'm getting upset.
I don't know where to go. I've never done this before. I'm kind of shocked.
You're doing good. Just give us your name if you would.
Sue
Last name.
Engstrom. Starts with E. Yeah, I kind of, what's this code red, first off?
So Code Red
We're
is
new
a-
to the area. It's
Okay.
fairly new,
So Code Red is a system where it's basically like a reverse 911. So we can go ahead and give out a message, a call to our citizens, our residents on emergencies, just information, upcoming events, different options. And you go to our city website, or you can call Brett, he can get you signed up to get on it. So that is a situation where it's a volunteer program. The new thing we're putting in place during an emergency is we were gonna ping the cell towers in our area, we'll tell them where to. And then even if you're not on that 911, the code red, you'll get a call saying, hey, you know, there's a fire at 8th and Sterling, can you take care of the area? If you live in the 3rd Ward, 4th Ward, shelter in place. Everybody in this area will get that, even if I'm a visitor. If I'm in town now, my cell phone will get it.
The county has that, not us.
But we have to ask them.
Yeah, that
We have the number.
That was my next question. How somebody from Chicago, if they're not gonna sign, if they're not signed up, how are they gonna know if they're here, you know?
Oh, that would work like.
Yeah, the cell phone, whoever has a cell phone in this area, wherever you're from, they get that call.
So how long does that take to get set up?
It would set up now already.
Oh, it's already fixed and you got the, all squared
But if
away.
you're not set up for code red, again, you can call City Hall or you set up on the website, and it's a very easy process to get your number in to get our normal calls. Code red.
Okay, well, hopefully this doesn't happen again.
I
If
agree.
it does, where's this code red gonna go out to? How far?
Well, as Chief says, it depends on what's the parameters of the issue, right? So.
Well, it explodes just like it did. How far is it gonna go?
Well, the initial one will go out to every cell.
Right around, yeah,
Every
I
cell
get
phone in
that.
here.
But I was just curious how far out
A
that.
code red, you could get out of state if you got your cell phone registered for code red.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So it's sort of like when a child's missing, same thing?
Correct.
That's a different one, that's when you talk about the utility phones.
I'm sorry?
But the code red is specific phone numbers you register with the city. And you would get that announced.
Well, I'm not in this city, I'm just, I don't
No, that you
I don't know how far out some of the stuff that went up in the air, I feel really for these people that were affected. I really do, and I'm sorry. I had nothing to do with it, but I'm sorry. I feel for all of you. But I'm in a different town, but, it sounds like some of these chemicals aren't gonna go away, I guess, they're just here now. So, how far do they spread? How far did they travel? Kind of thing. So that's why I was curious, how far is this gonna go out? Because if I was here and I could have left, I probably would have said, see ya, I ain't staying here. I don't know. It sounds like it was pretty bad going north, so. But, yeah, my personal opinion would be to maybe get different, how do I say, like, what are you going to do in the future? How are you going to make this better? How is this not going to happen again? People, it'd be good if people listened more,
I think that's what Don Hicks said was, what are some takeaways? And we're still working on takeaways. One big one was we heard was communication. People didn't know what's going on.
Because people are more important than money, really.
So, yeah.
I mean, we're talking lives. It doesn't matter if it's people, children, adults, elderly, pets, wild animals. Everybody needs a caring heart. Empathy really needs to travel around this world, really. It's just too many people don't care anymore. And it's sad. It's really, really sad. So I just hope, that a lot of people, even the people that it happened to, we all learned something from this, I've learned some things. I didn't have to be here, but, I don't live in the city is what I mean. I didn't have to be in this to learn, I'm very much into learning as much as I can. It doesn't matter what it is. But, I just hope that this, could be much better, and everybody just learns from it and does a better job,
Thank you.
Thanks.
I didn't know if there was a number 5 or not.
That's me.
Hi, Sabrina.
Hi. I don't have too much that I would like to address today. I would like to start off by thanking Brian. He's been in contact with me and did let me know that they would be doing the additional soil samples. So, I appreciate that so much that you guys are willing to further assess what we're concerned about. So, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'd also like to thank Officer Sitchin-Jinsky for helping clean up the littering thing. I will say there's more cups back there, but I appreciate what you did. I guess one of my main concerns at this point would be, well, first off, I just want to say that it was my decision to move in LaSalle and stay close to my parents. My parents didn't necessarily encourage me to stay there, or it was ultimately my decision. I was aware of Carus Chemical. I was aware of the Superfund site. We were not aware of the warehouse behind our home storing chemicals, so that's kind of where that gets a little rocky. I'm just worried about our property values. What is this going to do to our property values currently and futuristically? Is this going to affect, one, the contamination, and then two, the facility being there? Even with it being vacant, is it still going to be considered a Tier 2 chemical facility?
I would believe not if it's not going to have chemicals in it, but we'd have to find out how we officially de-title that, or whatever you wanna call it, so that it cannot be that anymore, once they move it out? It's a good question.
Okay.
I don't want to still be considered that where they did the approval, and then all of a sudden they can put it back out there. I think after
Right.
we have it moved, we'll go out, decommissioning it, whatever the formal thing is, so if everything in there went back there again, it would have to be through the whole petition process again. Which
Okay.
would not happen, I don't believe, with this council.
Okay. And do you think that we will get answers as to how this did become approved as a tier 2 chemical facility?
I'm not aware how that is, but I know we're looking through all our paperwork.
Okay. Oh, and I did want to say thank you. I'm not sure who did the letters to our houses. I did find with the Brownfield report. I did enjoy having. I mean, that's kind of what I was expecting. Like day one, coming home from this happening, I was expecting
That was Brent.
Like a letter. I kind of figured, but I was expecting to get information like that, like day one. Like I think that was helpful information. I just think it would have been.
It took us a little longer because there were some things we wanted to address in the letter. Why it didn't get out right after our last meeting. Day one after the fire, we were still, going through everything. But once we had the information, we were able to put it out there.
And is the Brownfield report released now?
It's online. If you go to LaSalle-Iowa.gov, you go to news and events at the bottom of the front page. It is there with that letter.
Okay. Okay.
And then the letter that went out to residents' homes was shortened just for purposes of getting it out. The material at the front was what I deemed, I think, the most important, but the entire document, all 50-some pages, is on our website. So feel free to go review.
Because I did see that it was referring to other areas
Appendixes,
that were
C and
not,
D, which are all
which were not
Yep.
included. So
Yep.
I was just curious as to that. I think that's all I have to say.
One of the frustrating things for
Oh,
the city is we're frustrated because we'd like to get the results back, and then we want those entities to get the results back to individuals, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't feel we should have to do that. If they're the ones doing the testing, they need to get back with you folks individually. And a lot of times we're like, did you get back with Jeff Rowe? Oh, we're trying. Well, we try, we can't get hold of that person. Then we're going to go ahead and we're going to let them know. Okay, go ahead. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So we're trying, we shouldn't have to be, because we're not the specialists on it, but we're trying to get the word out as fast as we know to you guys, and sometimes bypassing them when they should be the ones telling you the report. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'll use as an example of the deer head, It's like, why, when Mr. Hicks called and said, hey, what's the results of that? He should have been told already. So we're frustrated by other, entities, because we're trying to do our best to expedite all this information as we get it. And I don't think it's fair that we're taking some heat that why aren't we getting this stuff out? And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's not on us that this stuff's not getting out sooner. And when we can, we're saying, hey, can we just let our folks know what's going on? And right, yeah, go ahead. But again, sometimes we're going to let you guys know, but we don't have the report to back it. But at least we can try to say, hey, this is what the preliminary findings are. Does that make sense?
That does make sense, yes. Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
You were the one that brought the filter in.
Yes, I
2
was.
weeks ago, and you sent that off to be tested, or you had it tested?
Yes.
Did they do any testing on flat surfaces inside your residence?
No.
And since this is an open meeting, I think the city should get a hold of our independent, and we should be testing at least a house. Obviously, we can't pay everybody's house tested, but you brought in the filter, there's a report. My concern to you is that's recycled air. That didn't,
right.
I mean, most people know how HVAC systems work. There's no draw from outside, that's inside your home.
Right.
That's what concerns me the most. And I wish if you hadn't, that you would, or the city should pay at least to have one flat surface interior of a home tested. And again, I'm saying that, and I know I'm going to get some looks because that's taxpayers' money, and I haven't discussed this with anybody. And we can't afford everybody, and everybody in here that has this issue would love that to be done. But it's just not going to happen, just like testing in land. But we need to know if it got inside homes. That's my opinion. Everybody here has their own opinion. That's my opinion. I'd like to see the city pay for at least our contractor that we contracted to go inside.
And I appreciate you
but
saying
we have
that.
to have somebody that's willing to allow that.
I would allow that.
Okay.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying something.
Well, it just concerns me. That concerns me, because I know maybe nobody thought of that. And I'm thinking, if your filter's got chemicals in it, so does your house.
Right.
And I'd like to know what.
That's why I feel like we're constantly exposed. I feel overall, I mean, maybe I'm speaking for others, but we're scared.
Right.
We don't know what a lot of is going on, and I feel like the little bits that we figure out, it just freaks us out even more.
I understand.
So
And that's not, it's, by no means is that my reason to bring this up. It's just that if it was already done, that would be something that obviously I'd like to know about.
Right,
But
and I
if it
think
hasn't
knowing
been,
would help.
I'd like to see if we
ease some of
can
that
facilitate it happening. Because it wasn't just outside your home.
Correct.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I appreciate you saying so. Anybody else? Thank you.
Number 6.
Did I ask a question? There was one thing I forgot.
Sure.
Is there a way, thank you, is there a way to work on trying to get a, I think they call it an air monitor closer here in LaSalle?
Up when, from that plant?
Yeah.
I think there's an air monitor at the library.
Yeah, but that's not nowhere near that chemical plant.
Correct.
That plant needs to be monitored.
That's a different direction. So is that where the air test came from, at the library?
Yeah.
They had their own test brought up to EPA.
Yeah, it's all proceeding. I think, University of Library or something, I can't remember.
The library one.
Yeah, it's been there for a while.
Need one closer to the plant. Or they all got affected. Of course, you never know with the wind, it might take it south next time.
And there's a lot of damage to the park too, and I'm just in awe that you guys are really kind of accepting that too. All that new work you guys did on that footpath down by the pond. They look like they got hit harder. The park looks like it got hit harder than us. My daughter walks down there with her dog. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Number 6. Mr. Schneider. Good evening. You coaching this year?
So, Marty Schneider, I live on 1522 La Harpe Street. My house was the one that ended up coming back with high levels of everything, including mercury. It was a surprise to me because I was told that we're not in the path of the plume, but obviously, I mean, everybody knows that thing shot 600 feet in the air, and it probably went everywhere. But anyways, from the moment that we were told 3 hours after the fire started to shelter in place and there was no reason to be alarmed, I had a bad feeling in my gut that something wasn't right. Although we questioned the advice that we were given, we did what we were told and protected our dogs, and did everything we could to keep them safe outside. It wasn't until the second press conference that I realized what was happening when you guys shut down the public from attending and told us basically that this was the perfect fire. Everything went smoothly. Everybody's safe, no chemicals hurt anybody, and the stuff that rained down on us was perfectly safe. It actually cleaned water. Only two of the safest chemicals in the world were released in that plume. And all that we had to do was put some water on it. The problem was solved. I'm sure you remember some of you seeing my comment on the live feed of that press conference, questioning the statement and wanting you to say specifically that those were only the two chemicals released in the fire. Because we knew that that had to have been impossible. It was then I realized that we weren't being told the truth. It was 2 days after that fire that somebody told me Jamie was making videos about it, and I had some questions that I had. I reached out to him and we talked about everything. When he told me about the semi-traffic on the road going to the dead-end vacant warehouse daily, I started to think about all the times those trucks used to get stuck on my block trying to turn the corner because there was a car on the side of the road. Now I find out that those semis weren't even supposed to be going down there because that place was supposed to be vacant. I never thought anything of it at the time, and I didn't realize that that I wasn't seeing it anymore because you guys put the truck signs up for them. Let's see here. Anyways, I told Jim that something wasn't right, he agreed. But I also told them that I know a lot of you up here, and I have a lot of respect for you and trust that you're going to do the right thing to help. Since then, I've spent a lot of time helping Jamie and the rest of us get answers. It's consumed me. It's consumed me so much like Jamie. It's all I've been able to think about. Non-stop phone calls with insurance companies, non-stop phone calls to the body shops, non-stop phone calls to Carus hotline and emails because they don't want to answer the phone. And a lot of time with State Farm meeting with Cody and those guys down there about helping not only me but the other people in the neighborhood that have them. I expected to do all this legwork for Carus and the insurance company. I knew that would take a lot of time. I've been at all these city council meetings and planned on speaking at the last one, but when that guy stood up and presented the findings of the independent test and tried not to say anything about Jamie's sample that was off the charts, I knew we were on our own. I won't stand up here and point any fingers at any of you because even with all the information that we have found out on our own, we probably will never find out if it was truly just Carus lying to us and what they were telling you. And so I wouldn't feel right, nor do I want to do that to any of you. I'm here to tell you, I'm here today because I want to talk about my family and friends mean everything to me. This isn't about making Carus pay for the material things that they damage, because that can be replaced. We know with the right lawyers we will get that. I'm speaking because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't. When I think about how many of my family members and friends that are older, that either grew up by that plant or grew up in DPU, that have dementia and are going through that right now or have died. So many of my aunts and uncles from DPU. So it's no wonder that our area has some of the highest cancer and dementia rates in the country. It's now clear to me it's because companies like Carus that are allowed to break the rules because our communities are so small that we depend on them for taxes and donations. This chemical fire is not the first time in the last 2 years that Carus has plumed chemicals in our yards in the middle of the night. One of my dogs gets a severe rash just a couple times in the summer and for no specific reason. And we didn't know what it was from. When we found out that we were going to get our yards tore up, we chalked it up as being the chemicals. So we decided to stay because we weren't aware of what Carus was still doing after the yards got dug up. But Jamie and I have talked, and we both know times where we remember where we've been out in my yard and noticed that there was brown dust blanketing our yard. And we had no idea why, and we didn't even think to look at Carus for it. But anyways, when the EPA came around and told us that we had the stuff in our yards, we realized it was probably coming from that. We were happy. We decided to stay in LaSalle and not only add on to our house, but I bought another house on the same block. Fast forward to today, and we're being told that we have to accept these dangerous chemicals in our yard again because it's under the EPA, what the EPA considers unacceptable levels. What's not acceptable for us. We know now that they were lying about the chemicals in our yards, so any levels of these chemicals or metals are deadly and will not be acceptable. So it brings me back to why I'm up here today. When I look at the furnace filter and mine being the highest level, it makes me think about my family and friends that have died from this pollution, and that someday, if I give up and don't move my son out of here, and don't keep fighting to find answers and get this taken care of, he has a pretty good chance of getting cancer and dementia himself, and it's not something that I could deal with. So I mean no disrespect towards any of you up here when I say this. This is more for Carus, who refuses to be here to hear our concerns. We won't stop until our property, yards, and HVAC are free from any and all traces of your harmful chemicals and metals. The group of us is growing every day and with every lie you tell. So I'm asking you to please do the right thing. And one more thing, I am not suicidal. Thank you.
Thanks, Marty. Number 7. Hi, Ellen.
so I have a different topic tonight. My name is Salle and I reside at 119 4th Street in LaSalle. I'm here as a resident to say how concerned I am with the announcement of the closure of the Peru Hospital emergency room and only local OB unit. I'm even more concerned after St. Margaret said that it needs an immediate infusion of state support in order to continue operations. I understand that this is a private business, but I do think that there are things we can do, such as LaSalle officials meeting with surrounding community leaders and talking about the future. Some things I'm really concerned about are what's going to happen to single mothers and low-income families. It's just not easy to pick up and go places, especially to Ottawa or Morris. Is the public transportation infrastructure we have enough to sustain all new people who will now have to leave the area for services? No. I wondered if we could hold events with dislocated workers' office to help those who lost their jobs, like events at the Y or somewhere else. How can we incentivize more people to live here? How can we combat the housing shortage so that people who want to live here have places to live here? And what's going to happen to our schools if people are leaving for jobs and people can't have birth here? I personally would not want to give birth in a town without a hospital. This issue is a nationwide issue, and I do think it's important to talk with people like Congresswoman Lauren Underwood and Senators Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth. I don't know if it's possible for you guys to make contact with them. So those are just some of my thoughts. Thank you.
Ellie, we had, there was a news conference with Senator Resin, Representative Yenot, and actually Congresswoman Under. She had somebody there, and she's actually coming in town Friday, and we'll talk again. But again, unfortunately, even residents and Yenot didn't even know about it until they read about it.
Yeah.
I don't know how that could be.
And I'm not blaming you for not knowing about it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think there should have to be some kind of filing so people can plan ahead and not find out 8 days beforehand that this is going to happen. And, just talking to some of those people, the whole AD or a lot of the OB department came. And that's one thing we talk about up here is 3 things. Number one, needed health care, having to go even to Spring Valley. For LaSalle, we'd love to just be able to go to Peru, right? Jobs. And then number 3 too is like you said, we want families to come here and we want them to have a situation where they have a OBGYN here because, why would people want to move someplace and say, oh, you can come to LaSalle, Peru, but drive to Ottawa or Morris or Rockford to have your baby, right? It's not very welcoming. So there's a lot going on here, and we're definitely doing what we can do, trying to do that. I do know in that press conference that some of the people said that a lot of the folks, which is good news for them, not bad, not good if St. Margaret's able to restructure and open up St. Margaret's Peru, that a lot of folks have found jobs. I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but Dixon Hospital, Rochelle, all the OSF, they were all having job fairs here to try to grab some of the good talent. So hopefully a lot of people did get relocated. But again, I'm also concerned that if hopefully something happens where we can get that back open, will there be people with the staff to get, So, and then again, kind of back to the point of trust, where people trust the fact, they go back there when they know trust is just huge.
I just think our biggest resource is other people and talking with all the other communities like Oglesby, Peru, and just having that open dialogue about what can we do. I know there's a lot out of our hands, but I just think there's more conversation with them.
We're fortunate. Kurt is from the Street area, and he saw Streeter go through that. So we're trying to see what he's giving some ideas on what Streeter did. Now they're just basically emergency facility, and then they basically transfer out, to the need where we're needed, but at least they had that initial emergency facility right there, But thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We do have one more resident. I don't
Oh,
know
no,
if we have
resident first.
I feel like we have an 8 out there.
Okay.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I guess I'm bringing up the end here.
Aubrey Crane's to be honest.
Cool. My name's Barry Crennan. I live on Todd Street, south of the plant. I've been here since 2009. After I bought the house and moved, then I found out about the zinc. Then I found out about the coal mines. And I knew about the chemical plant because we drove by it when I was looking at the houses. but I figured they have things under control. Well, that all changed when early one morning, working on my computer, I hear an explosion. And I go, that's interesting. I wonder if they're doing next door. He's always working on his house. Then I hear another one, and it shakes the ground a little bit, and I'm like, ooh, dynamite. And then a big one, and that's when I get up and go, what is going on? Go outside, see all this white smoke with like a mushroom cloud type thing coming from the chemical plant. Well, they went my idea, they know what they're doing. So, what was interesting is me and my neighbor were watching. I didn't hear any sirens.
No.
And I go, wait a minute. Someone had to have called 911. Especially Carus had to call 911, I would think. So I'm waiting. Still nothing. So I go back in the house, come out 5 minutes later, see what's progressed. Now it's getting black smoke. Still no sirens. And it just confuses me. That's why when you talked about confusion, I'm like, maybe there was a lot of confusion. Maybe I should have called 911 and said, hey, you know, there's a mushroom cloud out of the Carus plant. You might want to send somebody over.
Do you know where our fire department is?
Yes.
Okay, so what's fortunate?
Fairly close.
Yeah, which is very beneficial in that situation, right? So it was actually pretty amazing how fast our first engine did get there, and then obviously we had help from many other communities.
So why did it take so long for sirens? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I live south, I heard crew sirens and old sirens pretty quick.
But I will say, to your point too, just if anybody sees any kind of or hears something don't hesitate to call 911. Because you might be that person that says, oh, somebody else is calling, and nobody's actually calling.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I mean, I'd rather have somebody call and say, hey, thank you. You know, we have multiple, dispatchers on take those calls. And but again, use your judgment. You know, if you heard something but you're not seeing anything, then you don't, I don't know. We definitely had some support. We had a lot of help. I was fortunate that our facility is right there, blocked down.
Yeah. Okay, and then many things were talked about. Why you're living here, you don't like it, and what I was thinking is, well, some people really care about society and not just themselves. When I heard a few days later that Carus says everything's okay, I thought right away back to Bluff Canal and the Fukushima nuclear plant. The Fukushima manager said everything's okay. Okay, everything's okay, and they evacuated thousands of square kilometers after they found out it wasn't okay, and that's my concern. Carus says it's okay. They've had crisis meetings, I'm sure. Everybody says it's okay. Everybody's saying what the big man wants them to say, and it's not okay. So all I'm asking is that, as Ronald Reagan said, you trust but verify. Don't take what they say as gospel, because they're running a company. They're there to make money.
And then just to your point, you're exactly right. So we're getting told by US EPA that it's all clear. The Illinois EPA says it's all clear. Illinois Department of Health, all clear. But we did verify too. I don't know if you knew this, so we did get another outside, our own person that the city's paying for to do some testing. And again, I mean, we're definitely open if somebody shows us some scientific stuff that says this is a high level, it's not safe. We'll definitely act on it. We have not seen that yet. And, we could all say there's things out there, this isn't good, this isn't good. That's great, but I understand, but we need to know something that's solid that we can go out that changes us off this path. We can't just do what ifs, because that's not being responsible either. So we're just trying to do the best we can. There's people who are going to Google everything up, right? And you're going to look into it. But again, it all comes down to breakdown. What's the consistency of the product? Is it spread out? Is it one big thing together? Obviously, that has a lot to do with it, right? And that's what we're not scientists. We're not specialists on that. But that's what we we talked to two other places local that had situations and they didn't build an outside firm to come in and verify. We are like your school of thought, trust, but verify. And that's why it's a little disappointing when we have people, and I don't blame them because these folks are dealing with it every day. They're basically saying that we're not doing our job, but we're doing the best we can with the information we're getting, and we're doing as much as we can to try to find that information. We all live in LaSalle. We have family in LaSalle. We wouldn't be up here if we didn't love LaSalle and people and believe in LaSalle, as Patty said. But unfortunately, we can't just say, "Well, you're right. Let's go. We got to. This is wrong." No, well, we can't just do that, right? We have to be responsible. And any kind of correspondence that we've got for us is not a situation where we're trying to support anybody. We're just trying to find the facts. It's an issue we ask Carus. That's their plan. When the US EPA gets in there, the IAEPA gets in here, what do you guys suggest? What are we at?
Being coached by Carus, though.
I can't respond for US EPA. I don't think anybody's being
Well, I
coached.
can because I've made numerous complaints and they're in my emails, and they knew exactly what was going on in that Tier 2 storage facility, and they told me to file an EPA incident report, which I did, and they still allowed them to truck it out. Nobody went in the building until after they trucked the potassium permanganate out.
Can I ask a question?
Are you done, sir?
I got one more thing. Going forward, because we like to progress, not regress, in my book. Going forward, we might want to think about talking to Carus about moving their plan to other vacant land that LaSalle has out by Interstate 80. That's all I have. Thank you.
Can we get your name one more time for the minutes?
Barry Brennan, CHRENEN.
Thank you.
Marty?
I just want to know if you guys found out how they got away with paying no taxes. If it's all of a sudden, everybody should have known about it and everything's legit. How would they get away with it?
What would they be paying taxes on?
They're paying taxes on a vacant lot. That's a Tier 2 chemical storage facility for the
That's still
last.
the same address? It's registered under the same address or a different address? Than Carus?
I'd have to check the price. You're saying there was no property taxes paid on it?
There's property taxes, but they ain't paying what they should be for that building.
They're paid as a vacant building, that's.
The charge is a vacant building. I have it all.
The taxes would be sky high storing this kind of chemicals or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. They're not only cheating, they're cheating us out of money. That money should be going to us to help fund our roads and stuff. And every time you guys ask Carus to do something to help fix the road up by my house, chip in some money, help us out, so we can make it a little bit safer for them trucks to come. I didn't know they were hauling what they were hauling, but.
Patty, how does a building, vacant or unvacant, affect the property tax?
So.
For the record, since you're a realtor.
Yeah, the assessors, might not be up on everything. They're short-staffed just like everybody else. And so if a building switched from being a vacant building to being a facility, if that got slipped or whatever in the paperwork, then it wouldn't have changed. The same way that a house, if it was assessed at, $100,000 and somebody now bought it for $150,000, that might take a few years to catch up with it.
So if a building's empty, it's valued less than if it's full?
Commercial buildings are based on usage and what they're worth in that way, so that is a little bit different.
But assessment's based on the outside of the building, not what's really in it, like your house. You could have gold faucets in your bathroom and they wouldn't know it.
Oh,
But would chemical storage not be a different story? I mean,
Once they made it a Tier 2, it should have changed
It
totally.
shouldn't matter if it's full or empty, I would think, yeah. Unless they declared it after you dropped the Tier 2 status.
Yeah, I've looked back in all the records and I can go back many years and their taxes don't move a lick. They stay right there. And ours, I know everyone in here's go up.
I fell through the cracks from the township assessors on that.
Well, no, because I know the township assessors in my paperwork, it shows when they came out and assessed the property. But Carus won't let them through the gate. That's the problem.
Can I ask a question about the testing? So some of the things that I had heard the Sierra Club report bring up were testing that was done at a 6-inch level when the appropriate test should be a 3-inch level, or swabs that were taken on concrete when they should have been taken on flat surfaces. Were those respective of our guy that did it, Brownfield, or were those from the EPA?
EPA. EPA only tested 4 residential homes, and they were the only homes that were at people that were at the first news conference that they took our names down.
So,
other than that, they tested no other residential.
So wouldn't it be appropriate for us to ask for the proper testing? Mr. Brown.
I'm not the judge yet, and again, I'd like to see our club member to go on record with their name and
Right, well,
accuse the SCP of doing wrong.
Right, yeah, I'm not saying wrong.
You could talk and say, again, I don't know if it should be 6 inches, 3 inches, or 2 inches.
You should find out, though, sir. You should find out. That's your job.
I trust them. That's their
well,
job.
you're listening to Carus, though. You're being spoon-fed.
I'm listening to US EPA and EPA.
I got the email right here. It tells me how you spoon-fed.
I'm pretty excited the fact that it
And
sounds
you
like
guys
our
should
guy
know
did
about it. I'm
properly.
sorry.
No, and I'm grateful for all of the additional testing that you're doing. And I just want to give Mayor Grove a shout out. When he was my alderman, I knew what was going on. He knocked on the door, he left newsletters every quarter or whatever.
Where's that man?
And Boo, I just challenge you to say how many of your people did you reach out to? You're saying they didn't call you. And that was just my thought because Mayor Grove was such a good alderman.
On the day of the thing that happened to that Carus, I was out there watching that property.
Oh, good.
Good for you.
And I just say for all you gentlemen up here next week, they're always available, they're always open, and as Drake says, sometimes you feel more comfortable talking to one than the other, but they're all very approachable. I know they care, I see what they do, I know the constituents that have reached out to them. Everybody has a different way of doing that, whether it be one-to-ones, or phone, text, or email.
I just like to know that everything's going through the council and not between you, Brent, and Carus. That's what I want to know. Who's making the decisions for us? Because we vote you guys in. You guys are our voices.
Yep.
Are they there when you're making decisions on who you're hiring, what you're doing, how things are going, maybe giving residents that are complaining the list of people and listen to them and then say, okay, maybe there is something fishy going on here. You see it on the news in Ohio. Same thing happened there. I had to beg to get a test. When I seen that lady say that, I thought, oh my God, it's words coming out of my mouth. But this is a typical thing that the EPA does. And I'm not blaming you guys for that in no way, shape, or form. But when people are telling you something's not right, you should investigate it. And all you gentlemen should be involved in whatever's going on in the city business.
Pretty much everybody knew that when you go on the outside.
They know about the warehouse. Did they know about the warehouse? Did any of you guys tell this councilman about the warehouse?
You're talking about the...
Other than me telling Jordan Crane about the warehouse.
You're talking about other reporting that it was empty when there were chemicals inside?
Yes.
I did report it. I don't know if I reported it to all of you at once, but I reported it to the mayor to tell the council that this is...
And it went in, they heard it went from machine parts to chemicals to a tier 2 chemical storage facility. Is that how you guys heard it?
So, okay, we know.
Okay, we know about it. And let them haul it up. Did you guys know, anybody know about that?
We're rectifying the situation now.
Well,
that party?
Did, I forgot what I was gonna say.
Well, you're thinking about that. I had a question about your dog. So I just understood you to say that it was in the summertime that your dog had trouble since the explosion.
Yeah, it's never got it in the wintertime, and it's twice as bad.
Marty, have you had a chance to go to your vet to find out?
Not yet. Well, they didn't know until today what the test for. I mean, they couldn't. You know what I mean? Now we know, which that just reminded me what I was going to ask you. Now that we know what was in the soil and in Jamie's test that guy tried to, the Brownfield tried to not talk about, we know there was high levels of these metals and stuff in the yards, but not only ours, but I went up to my parents' house on 24th Street, and because it's straight up, you know where they live, on the dead end up there, railroad tracks, right up from Carus. Way up from here, but in a straight line. Anyways, their damage is all over. They're shining too, but you can barely see it until you get up on it when the sun's shining on it. I had to blow up the pictures to show my parents because they couldn't see it very well. Anyway, so that could be very possibly in the yard because their dog, Callie, which is a little miniature dog, I had to take that dog to the vet 2 weeks ago for her checkup because she had a seizure. I found out it was like a week or two after the fire. And nobody knew what it was from, nobody knew nothing until I checked that sighting and realized that it could have been that. And now that we have the results, I mean, how many other families have their yards that could have this stuff in it? You know what I mean?
More and more are coming out talking about their dogs and their cats.
I just don't understand.
And I guess I would just strongly, and you'll probably do it, but I would talk to your vet and find out if they could show some kind of medicine-wise what's causing that. And, you know, as the Attorney Federal says, at some point in time, it's your decision what you need to do to get your compensation. It was mentioned by someone here to say, material things we can get attorney and then get some of this stuff back. Other things, pets, stuff like that.
So would it be possible where I have to do it myself to possibly get their yard tested, my parents up on 24th Street to help reassure the people up there that it didn't get that far, that maybe just because it got into their siding doesn't mean it's, you know, it's still in their yards. I mean, that's, because those are people who have been being told since day one that they're not affected. And I'm not this truck that
So you park it in the good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody up here said we didn't draw a line like these people here north of O'Connor didn't get affected or north of Grant didn't get affected. We never said that. We had a gentleman here, very respectful, who brought in concerns about his feet, remember?
Yeah.
He was, you know, he's up in Denver, obviously North Denver, you know, so we know it traveled. Just again, from the data we have is that, yeah, a lot of people got hit with it, but the amount that's out there, you know, as far as EPA standards, and I know everybody has their own standards, you know, everybody would like to be zero, but it's under the threshold of being a dangerous situation. And that's the only information we have.
But that's for the potassium from Maggie and for the main.
We tested,
what
we
about
tested
this
the EPA,
soil with
obviously
metal?
US EPA and the EPA, Illinois EPA tested for what we were told went up in that fire.
Right, but if we're like, we've got filters that are showing heavy metals now, if that comes back.
Shouldn't that change things?
Wouldn't that change if we're looking at these metals that we've had taken out because of Carus from our yard?
Well, I think that's why the mayor asked if you could get the studies to us, but it was indicated it wouldn't be, so we'll have to get a mouse farm. Any source that can give us information, as the mayor said, we don't pretend to know everything. We've retained an independent engineer. He's not necessarily going to know everything either.
That's another thing. Why did you hire anybody that had anything to do with Carus?
Because he has nothing to do with Carus.
But why you couldn't find a company that didn't have Carus's name in it at all?
I think our city engineer had prior experience with him in test and believed in his integrity. And he also had, is that correct?
Or was it recommended by Carus to use that that firm?
No. Carus had nothing to do with this.
Well, why did he get a tour of that facility when he's got nothing to do with Carus facility, but he got a tour?
He specifically asked me, Jamie,
Why?
if I wanted him to make sure that things were being done what he
It
thought
just
was
sounds
safe.
fishy, doesn't it?
No, not
We
at all.
asked him to go there.
I was looking to protect the city and have to make sure
But I thought you trust the EPA.
that the operations, EPA's not there all the time.
I know, they left it the first day.
If I completely
He
trust
told
it,
us they were here and we're lucky.
it's optics, if anything. If I completely trusted the EPA, or I felt you trusted the EPA, we wouldn't have been doing additional testing.
Right.
We made the decision. No, I appreciate you're doing
and in
additional
that
testing.
same grain, I thought I should have them look at the plant on behalf of the city, just like you're asking for your yards to be tested, the plant to be looked at while he was there. Had nothing to do with him knowing anybody at Carus. I've used him on some other stuff, and he did work for his school, and they were very happy with the work he did. That's how he came about.
The man that's in charge didn't have anything to do with Carus, never has.
Well, I know that. I know all the information. I've looked at all that. I know probably more than you guys.
Brian believed it. The high school believed in him. He came very well recommended. And yeah, we were in a hurry to get somebody to try and get looking at it as quick as they could. And that was felt to be in the best interest of the residents.
We appreciate that, but why didn't they test for heavy metals when they knew that heavy metals should have been involved in that fire?
we're not scientists, we can ask and see whether that should be looked at. And if we get the benefit of the Sierra report, we'll look at that and run down that trail too. Any help that any of you can give us doesn't have to wait to a public meeting to get it to us. If you get information of a scientific nature.
We have to learn to trust the city though.
Well, that's your decision. We can't control that. All I'm saying is,
if I
as
lied
it's
to
been
you,
said, the city remains open to getting information, whether it's from Jamie Hicks.
if I
any of the
lied
other
to you
residents
though,
who are here.
and I came in here 3 times and lied to you guys, would you believe anything that I ever tell you in the future? No, you wouldn't. What is the difference here?
Didn't we take a 4-inch square of filter?
No, they didn't want it.
They didn't want it.
Yeah, they were looking at each other and Carus wasn't here to answer or something. I don't.
Can I let you know something? We were one of the people who had our cement swabbed outside, and from those results specifically, the health department had given us some instructions on what to do with those results. And I don't know if any of you guys had to have your yards cleaned up from the Superfund, but when it all started, they gave these sheets out that said, wipe your dog's feet off when you come in. Don't smoke or chew gum outside. If you're, touching your yard, make sure there's no bare soil. Well, we had all that taken care of, and now we're right back where we started. He said the same thing all over again. Don't be digging in your yards. Don't be outside with your dogs. If they come in, wash their feet. Take your shoes off. Don't garden. Don't eat anything out of your garden. So
who said that to you?
The Illinois Department of Health.
Department of Health.
What was their name?
They called us.
Aaron.
We'll need to verify
my
that.
son.
They
They told us
we've not
right
get
back
that
to the-
information.
we're going right back to the same
He's gonna tell
thing
you
we
the
did
same
before it
thing.
was cleaned
It's
up.
Aaron, right?
It honestly makes
He told
me
my
sick.
son to eat better iron so it doesn't
Yeah,
absorb.
us too. Eat more
Like, are you
iron.
kidding me? That's your answer?
He spent 30
That's
minutes
the
on
first
the
I've heard
phone
anybody
with us.
saying that you have to do all that stuff, so we'll find out.
We need a HEPA vacuum,
Find
a
out.
HEPA air cleaners in order to get the metals out of our
Right
house.
about that
The list goes on and on and on.
Okay.
And this is money that we're supposed
So
to
you're
climb up.
aware, but that's what we've been told.
And we'll definitely find out that, because then we made it verify.
You gotta ask the right questions, see? I know how to ask the right questions. And when the man calls me, I know how to ask questions. And this is
And we're learning from you,
And
Jimmy.
this is the information that he shared with me, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm not trying to come up here and be an asshole.
Dina didn't have a number, but she spoke.
Yeah.
Anybody else have a number? I think we're done. Jordan? Yeah.
Jordan Crane, 4th Alderman, for you that don't know me. I wish I would have spoke first, because everything I want to say has basically already been said.
So you don't need to.
Oh, no, that's all I'm talking about. I'd like to start with you. May I call you Eric?
Yes.
Dias, your last name?
Correct.
Okay, we've never formally met. I am your alderman. I had spoken with your wife, I believe, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, and I gave her some contact info for myself. So in your case, please don't feel like you need to be here. Get a hold of me, boo. If you don't trust us, there's 6 other councilmen and the mayor. Call one of us. I believe the mayor had said already. We don't need to wait to the meeting. When we're all available to listen. So please, in your case, don't feel like you need to be here. Just call one of us and we will relay your messages. And make sure we get you an answer.
I like to be involved.
Yeah,
I should have been
your
involved
involvement has been good. So
since we moved here, I haven't been involved. That's shame on me. I should have been involved from day one. I want the city to become one and be the best we can be. That's what it's all about.
Correct. So, you said you're a truck driver, CDL, Class A, hazmat endorsement.
Yep.
Okay, so I have CDLs.
I also train
I have
hazmat.
I have a CDL as well. I do not have a hazmat endorsement, so I don't know exactly what it takes to be placard. And what you said tonight, 1,001 pounds?
Or for a table 2 category.
Okay, so that was information that I didn't know, and so thank you for bringing that knowledge. And
I just want to go forward with it.
yeah,
we can't do anything from the
too.
past.
We do too. Please believe that. So, like I said, thank you for coming, but please don't ever feel obligated. You need to be here to get your point across. You know, we will help you do that. So, Jamie, I agree a lot with what you're doing. I watch every one of your vehicle or videos about your vehicles and everything else. I support what you're doing. I think it's great. Communication, we got to communicate a little more with us. You had mentioned the Sierra Club. Never heard of them before you brought them up. I have no idea what they did or who they are or where they're even from or how to contact them until you brought them up. And for that, I believe the mayor had asked you if you want to bring them in. We'd love to hear from them, you know, what their establishment's all about, where they're from, what certificates they have to do any testing, any of that. The mayor had also said that we are learning from you. That the thing now with paying the cell phones, we didn't bring that up. You suggested that the first meeting, so we are listening to you.
I know you are.
So
It's
please think
little
that.
mountains, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we are
That's
listening.
what we need to do. We need to move forward.
Well, that's what we're all trying to do. Please quit attacking my buddy Vader here. He's just trying his best. He's on.
Sorry, Vader.
Brent does what we ask him to do and what the residents. You know, when you call him, he gets on phone. He calls Carus right away. Yes, he's not calling to say, hey, this is what's going on. He's calling because if you look at anything, it says, please refer to manufacturer specifications, basically. To my knowledge, Carus is the only manufacturer of this product in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So who else are we going to call? Especially for, you know, an immediate answer, like, hey, what's going on here? We need to know a little about this. We need to know a little about that. They're a manufacturer. We have to listen to what they're saying first. And that's why we're not calling them to give them a heads up or nothing like that. And I know he's not doing that. And if he was, we'd have a little conversation. But
Yeah, we would.
yes. So he does what we asked him to do. He's in a meeting with Carus and EPA. Is it weekly now? Weekly. It's just a phone meeting? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I think the health department's in on it too.
That's why I said Aaron's name. I would like Sierra Club to work with Aaron because Aaron's going to be the one that comes to us and says this is what we need to talk about.
Dino, what you said about not being able to eat garden vegetables?
Yeah.
That's the first, right?
I
5
wanna-
minutes ago was the first I just heard of this.
I
I
wanna
live
cry.
in the ward. I have a garden.
I just wanted to hurt. So.
Nobody called me and told me that either.
Well, no,
Unfortunately, it has to
you
be
didn't get a
raised
fake
again, they
swab
said.
soon.
So I really appreciate, like I said, we are listening to you, Jamie, and everybody else in here. If we could just have suggestions, say, hey, can we look into this? Hey, can we look into that? Maybe we should try this. Not, why ain't we doing this? Because, you know why? Because we didn't think of it. You know, if you think about it, awesome. Get a hold of me, get a hold of David. You know, we'll do that. I think the only leg we have to stand on here, Jim, please verify, we don't have any authority over Carus. We can't say, hey, you can't do this, else we're, you know, going to shut you off.
We're gonna look into some things.
Well, the only thing we really have is some ordinance violations, which is basically a slap on the
We're
wrist.
gonna also investigate whether or not we can take advantage of state rules and EPA rules and regs. Although, once again, just like getting the independent engineer in, and you mentioned the other areas, I've talked to the attorney in Ohio, and based on discussions I had, they may be getting an independent engineer too. We all are in this together. None of us lawyers that are doing it know everything. None of the engineers know everything. We all learn from everyone. We knew we wanted to get an independent engineer in this. The fire wasn't even out, and I had the okay from the mayor to investigate that. So Carus had nothing to do with it. We wanted to have someone to represent the city and the residents. And we're ahead of the game compared to other communities on that subject. Doesn't mean our engineers have yet come up with everything. He may never. We may need help from other sources. He may even come up with some things that are maybe incorrect. Well, it's a working process. Having been involved in many things over many years, I know that these things, they take a life on of their own, and there's ebbs and flows. And I think what Jordan's trying to say, what the mayor's trying to say, what some of the other aldermen are trying to say, what Brian's trying to say, and Brent Baer, the city wants to work with and for the city residents. And I hope eventually it can finally, you can realize that and get the trust back.
That's what we wanna hear.
That's exactly what we want. We want you to trust us. We're not, if there's any lies that you think,
I trust
if they
you,
were ever
dude, or
brought
There
up,
can be
I wouldn't message
misunderstandings
you.
based on misinformation. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're lies.
right.
You know, we're sometimes relying on information we get because we're anxious to get you what we have. We can't always verify it independently immediately. That's one reason we've got the independent engineer, and he may not always get it right, but he's doing his best. He's totally independent, and we made certain of that. We're sensitive to what you said about having that he had a guy with Carus. That's why we insisted that that guy had no control avenue at all in how it was done. We thought, though, and so did he, that him having someone who been might be in some ways an asset. As long as he's used just to get information from him and is not part of the decision-making process, that can help the evaluation. And besides, the guy has come with extensive qualifications. I think, Jay, you even have.
He does. Yeah.
And he's worked for in the Rockton Chemtron fire. Brian's had him in other things. The high school's been very well pleased with him.
It's just,
He's
it's just
gonna do
the
his
question of why they didn't test for the metals.
Okay.
That's the major question.
And once again, Jordan said, we're listening to you.
Yeah.
Today, they were back
I know.
in your
I
daughter's
talked to
property and we're testing.
I know.
So we can compare it with what the US EPA did before a cleanup. So we
And
can, we can
appreciate
show
you
them.
going to her place as well too.
Right,
because
so
she's
we
been
did-
on my mind
And we
since day
did,
one.
we did metals there too, because we are listening to you. So, yes, we didn't do them the first time because we weren't aware, we didn't instruct him to do it, okay? He did basically what was supposedly in the fire.
He would be,
Okay.
he'd be the best one to answer those questions, but my speculation is that he inquired of the EPA and inquired of Carus, and in the limited time he had to do in regard to his initial evaluation, did the best investigation he could to see what were the most likely potential things he needed to test for. And that's what he did. That doesn't mean that based on other information that comes forward that shows that there are issues with heavy metals and things of that nature, that can't be looked at too. But, you know, this is only a little over a month post the occurrence. Everybody's anxious for final resolution. As we know from the state fire marshal, they haven't even determined sure that it's going to take.
Carus is up and running though in 6 days and bragging about it, and we ain't got nothing yet.
Yeah, well, we've got some things. We're further along, way further along
Not
than we
you.
were today.
I mean, Carus to give it to us, like acknowledging our stuff's messed up, acknowledging they're at fault.
Listen, you guys
Don't
talk
fight
to them.
our insurance.
You guys have communications with Carus. We can't seem to get the answers. Do they acknowledge that the results that we have? Do they acknowledge that those were in the fire? Now, are they still saying they're not?
We didn't even get the acknowledgement
they don't
of the
have
results
no-
We don't have any of the information
They don't
on
have
that
the
yet.
information.
The
You don't have
information
it.
on
Well,
the
they
metal.
don't.
We need the evidence on that to confront Carus and to do our further investigation if it's there.
And we did ask for a rush on those tests, so we'll get them probably Wednesday on the metals and everything else. And the heavy metals were really good from your daughter's property because we can compare them to what the EPA tested a year ago.
And I agree with that. I mean, that's actually
and
talking
then
about.
that gives us some more comparisons to say they're elevated or they stayed the same, you know, so we have something to go by.
And I think they're going out in a broader area too, because I think you're kind of zoning it in a little bit of like where the damage is at on your tests today.
Yeah.
Let me continue, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
So, it sounds like things are getting a little postponed or pushed back from what I've been hearing from the residents. Now we have a Davies group or Davis group.
Davies.
I didn't hear nothing about that, obviously. I learned, I got a couple text messages about it, say, hey, who's this, who's that? I don't know, so I called Bader. Bader looked into it a little bit. What did you come up with?
They're not the insurance group, as some people think. They're a claims processing organization. My understanding is that, you know, they're a global company and they have multiple large business clients. I've not filed an insurance claim, so I don't know exactly what you get, but I'm told that you should get an email with a claims phone number and a claims email address.
I did receive that.
And do they?
They call you back too.
Do they or don't?
Yeah, they called me back.
They call you
back.
And we still went through State Farm on my wife's car, about $8,000 worth of damage.
I
But
haven't got nothing.
she said they couldn't release any money. I said, how about putting out a car rental for her, since, you know, we only have 2 cars? And no, we're not releasing any money at this time.
Well, that's a couple of my questions here. Like, who is this group, what they do? My question basically for Carus, and I don't even know if they would go to Carus or their insurance company, is when there's a vehicle accident on the road, make your claim, a couple days later you got an adjuster.
Right.
That comes and tracks you down usually, whether you're at work or wherever. I'd like to see, from what I understand, you folks are having to send pictures yourselves.
We're our own adjusters, and the older people that can't get on the road.
I
haven't had that experience.
What year it was,
everything.
So you're,
State
I
Farm.
thought the Carus insurance
I'm
would
not
send
even
a
dealing with
team
Carus.
of
I'm not
adjusters,
dealing with Carus.
not just one.
No, they ask you a question in
Don't
there on
send
how
anybody.
you think the fire started.
Well,
So then that means if somebody answers, or what happened to your property.
Right.
So that means if somebody answers something different and it goes to court,
right.
they're gonna use that against us. I'm not done. They're gonna use that against us.
Right, so Stacy, you haven't dealt with this yet, or
I'm not dealing with the Davis here, no, mine's straight through State Farm.
straight through?
We're still waiting.
But I'm on hold now because my engineers came February 2nd.
We're still waiting.
Test all my stuff, my wood,
The roof
my
thing,
concrete,
the engineers are
plastic,
looking at it.
vinyl, everything.
Okay, so now,
And Carus told me that everything from all the outside insurances will come together to the Davies Group. And then once the Davies Group has everybody's insurance information of what was damaged, then they will move forward to the next step.
so that sounds to me like maybe a forward, like things are moving, they're just waiting for.
They have to wait for the engineer
Yeah.
result.
But
They said
here's the
they
thing,
have to
I don't
wait
understand how long.
But for the
For
Davies,
everybody.
for the people that have to go through the Davies group, you have to, you have to write everything down. You gotta have pictures. People that aren't adjusters don't know what they're looking at. Our AC units, that stuff loves aluminum. It's eating them up. Your gutters, it literally eating the lining out of the gutter. Like there's a coating in it,
Yeah,
it's
I
gone.
can see it peel away.
I think we're gonna wrap up the public comment part here, and then if you guys wanna stick around and talk about, share those stories, it might be good as a group.
Yeah, you don't wanna hear
So, with that, so there's no, you're your own adjusters, is Carus has they presented any legal obligation that their insurance is going to reimburse the homeowner insurance?
I can't say what they put out there.
But that hasn't.
Their press release, yeah, I can't say. I don't know.
They said that from day one, that was how they're doing it.
Is that like an official statement, or is that just kind of what they said? That's kind of.
From Carus, Jordan, I don't know if it'll be official or not, I mean.
Right. So hopefully we can get something, for the people that says, yes, they will come and, do that.
Probably doesn't matter, the homeowner's insurance is gonna look at Carus insurance company.
Right.
Their expenses. In the long run.
Okay.
But not for everybody. Some people who don't have, good policies, they're on their own. I got people down there on the end that are like that. They're on their own. They're fighting Davies Group now. And they don't know, they don't know what they're looking at. They're not adjusters. Just like you guys don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on.
Mr. Hicks, that's not true. I ran my own states.
Okay, then maybe you
As
do
a
know.
public adjuster, which is exactly what you would need, but I no longer do that.
Right.
So I have no
But,
advice.
I mean, that's
The
not
Davies
honestly
Group
our
is a
job.
consolidator. The Davies Group's job is to consolidate this.
Gather all
And
the.
get you to take, look, face it, I don't care how good I have State Farm since 1973. You're gonna be fighting with your own insurance companies
I
all
know.
the time.
We already are.
And I'm so sorry. It's just what you're gonna have to deal with, and it's so wrong. But you're gonna be fighting for your own stuff. Get ready. You're gonna have to.
I know, years.
Okay, talking about this is exactly how this stuff works. There's nobody that's gonna be able to help you without taking a percentage of your money. One way or the other, everybody's gonna get paid. You're gonna get as hard as you fight.
So as,
Accept or fight.
so as Brian had said, Brownfield was in town, we got doing some more testing. The 2 yards that were done have not been done by the EPA cleanup yet. Or have not been replaced by the EPA cleanup yet, I should say. Alderman Thompson suggests that we should have some internal testing done. So Alderman Thompson, if you would, I'd like to make a motion for a strong vote that we go ahead and approve the Brownfielder to do some more testing at Brian and Brent's discretion of the locations due to the calls and where you think the surrounding area would be. You know, if you want to, like, not just on Porter Avenue, if you want to go to Tonai, if you want to go to Charter Street, you know, maybe spread a little out. To your discretion.
I think your perspective would be valid on that too, though, so it's not just Brian and I. You're an elected official, so helping us guide us.
Yeah. That's fine.
And once you guys get the filter test, then you guys can determine what you want to do after that point. I appreciate that.
So, I'll go for a strong vote. If we want to, maybe a dozen sites, like you said, Alderman Thompson, we can't do every house.
But we
I
have,
support doing the interior Brianna's house, but we don't need to do any more yard testing. We were told from the ESP, they're not gonna come in yard test, we don't need yard testing, but we will do the inside.
Her stuff was pretty high, so I would feel comfortable if somebody did.
We gotta draw a line, which is my opinion someplace.
I agree with you.
No, Jordy up for election, good job, but.
That's not what I'm doing.
I know, I'm just saying.
It's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing.
It is the right thing to do.
You're doing the
I
right
appreciate
thing.
you standing up and saying something.
I know it's going to ease my mind. If you want to come stand up in my yard, please. I have 2 dogs. I like their puppies. What? I'm not, personally, I'm not calling Carus hotline. I'm not asking for any samples because I'm putting the residents first. Honestly, I don't want any sampling done in my yard right now until everybody else gets theirs done first. I don't want anybody saying that I'm an alderman, my yard got sampled, theirs didn't. I don't want that. So,
Don't worry.
I'll take it off of what my neighbors have.
And when the city advocates for the residents have a better chance than trying to fight on their own. So I think that's what you seem like you are offering, and that's what they'd like you to do.
Very much.
Clap.
Does that mean it passed?
Okay, straw vote on that.
Can we describe again the process of the straw vote's actually for in full? And everybody can vote knowing what they're voting for.
For future testing of up to a dozen sites for contaminants found out of the Carus fire, internal and external.
You can only do a straw vote tonight.
Yeah, we can only do a straw vote tonight.
Can we get Brian Brown's opinion on that? How do you feel about that, Brian? I don't know anybody know.
I'm willing to do whatever. I think it's, I think the internal, once again, we're listening. That was, we didn't know filter results or anything. So I think that's a very valid thing to test.
We go more on that.
As far as the outside, I don't know what additional, other than like the metals, which we did some tests. By testing more, some of these compounds are naturally in soil, not too high levels, but you know, no soil is zero. It has elements in it. That's just the nature of soil. So even the yards that were reclaimed, they didn't come back zero. They would come back as being within the test results. So basically all the results we had from outside were within the limits, according to what the EPA guidelines are. So by testing more, we wouldn't know if really the limits of the plume, or I don't know what more we could gain from that, with the exception of like being able to test Jamie's daughter's yard that we have some comparison. And I think once we get those results back, we might have, if they're elevated in heavy metals compared to what they were before they were tested, I think then there is some valid reason to go and check more yards for those elements, not for necessarily the phosphates or the manganese. So I believe, you know, until we get those results, it's hard to really say if there's any value, because everything in the main plume we tested were within the limits. So until we get results for outside with these metals, I really don't see any value in doing that. The inside, I do agree with.
You see if Brianna's comes back, different, then we can look at it.
Right. They break the yard down into 4 sections. 3 of her 4 sections were back from the US EPA that needed some. So we tested 2 of the bad section and the 1 section that was good to compare with what they did. So we did actually 6 tests there, 9 tests. We did the grass test, we did a 0 to 3 inches and a 0 to 6 inches, because that was the main level of contaminant in her yard. She was kind enough to send me her results over the weekend, so I could then instruct Brownfield where to test and what to test.
So, personally, I don't think we need to go 6 inches since it just happened. It really probably hasn't washed apart, so maybe we do just grass and 2 inches.
Well, the reason I did 6 is because that's the level that the US EPA did. 0 to 6, 6 to 12. So the contaminants were in the 6, so I asked for a 6-inch, level. So we didn't have that question. Why did you only go 3 when US EPA went to 6? So we did the 3 different tests, 0 to 3, which is what we did in the yards after the explosion happened, after the fire happened. And we added the grass because that was a concern. So we added the grass, we did the 0 to 3 and 0 to 6, so we have something to compare with US EPA.
You did grass testing?
On this one, yeah.
This one, okay.
I had them do some
Okay, I
grass
know
testing.
the first one, okay, so this
And
one.
they went to a few yards that they had tested previously with the soil, they got some grass sample.
Okay.
But I do agree doing some inside stuff, I think that's especially since, like Alderman Thompson said, with the air circulation in the inside, it would make sense.
So are you doing it just to, the normal one where Jordan said up exterior 8 interior 12, or just doing interior, and then if we find enough results, so then exterior exterior? Well, that's not his initial straw ball. I'm just saying Jordan's initial straw ball was to do both.
Brian, what's the cost per location sample? Expense.
You got the.
I can't break it down like that, I don't know off the top of my head.
Initially, he's
How
coming
about
back
we
to
wait
Brownfield.
until we get the results on the outside, but let's do a straw roll with the internal.
Yes.
And then we'll see what we go.
Can always revisit it.
Yeah.
This is
You agree with that, Jordan? So what Brian was saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I would still, my personal preference is since both of the yards haven't been cleaned up yet, I know we have, Brianna's, results from what she had, but Stacy hasn't had any, testing done on her yard to compare. So I would still like to get a few more outside ones. Just,
if they're gonna be here,
I mean, okay, if you guys don't want to do a dozen, let's do half a dozen.
But when we do them, we will do the panel including the heavy metal.
Yes.
That's good.
On the interior. Well, the interior is white, yeah, that will be, but the external too.
Everybody understand what we'll take a straw vote for them?
One more time, 6. Half a dozen yards, interior and exterior.
What just poured out 6?
outside and 12 inside? No.
Six.
Six.
Six and six.
Okay, Alderman Bassler.
Aye.
Thompson.
Aye.
Patak.
Aye.
Reynolds.
Aye.
LaBerry.
Aye.
Jepson.
Aye.
Herndon.
Aye.
Crane.
Aye. I'm a public comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody, good night, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Discussion potential action on the following petitions.